So let's start right away with the non-developer example. Therefore, of course, if you do have programming experience, you could skip this example and the next lectures, but you also might want to stick around, since even if you do know how to write code, it might be interesting to see how you can use ChatGPT to build an entire application, an entire game in this case, without knowing how to code. And we're going to build this Monster Slayer game I already mentioned. Now, you see the finished game here, and that's the finished game as I will build it over the next lectures. And I will, of course, say right away that, of course, if you're following along and you're writing your own prompts and you're coming up with your own solution, your code and your final result, your game, will very likely differ from the game I'm getting and from the code I'm getting, because there is some randomness built into ChatGPT and these GPT models. You might be writing different prompts, or you will most likely be writing different prompts. And of course, under the hood, ChatGPT and the underlying models, of course, also evolve. And therefore, even if you are using exactly the same prompts, you're likely not getting exactly the same results. Therefore, of course, the solution I will show you later in this section will be one possible, but not the only solution. And you should therefore, of course, definitely try to come up with your own solution and not worry if it differs from mine. But the application we are going to build, as mentioned, will be this Monster Slayer game, where we're going to use ChatGPT with no or only minimal programming experience. And the idea behind this game is that it's a text-based, a command line game, so it has no graphics. It runs only in the terminal or in the command prompt, and that the player will therefore be able to play that game via the command prompt or terminal. So by executing that Python file, which we're going to create, and by then playing the game. Now here's the description of the game we're about to build. It's a turn-based game where the user, so the player, fights a monster, played by the computer, and during every turn, the player can either perform a regular attack or a strong attack or heal themselves. Now, the strong attack should only be available every 3 turns. Healing should only be available every 5 turns, so that the game isn't too simple. After each turn, the monster will attack, and the damage and heal values for the player and the monster should be calculated randomly. Of course, the strong attack should do more damage than the normal attack. Now, if one of the 2 participants, so the player or the monster, goes below 0 health, they lose, and both participants start with 100 health. Now, if the game is over, the winner should be displayed on the screen, and the player should then be asked whether they want to start a new game, and if they do choose to start a new game, they should of course start with 100 health again. Now, in addition to these basic game rules here, there are then also a couple of enhancements you could apply to the game once you are done building the basic game with help of ChatGPT. You could, for example, allow the user to set a username when they start the program. You could allow the user to choose a difficulty, which has an impact on the damage and heal values. And you could also manage a high score, so that for different users with different usernames, you save the number of turns they needed to go through to win the game, and you then also display the current high score after every game, for example. These are some features you could add, and you could of course also come up with your own enhancements and add them as well. But for a start, it's this basic game that should be built. And with that, definitely try building this game on your own. And if you did build it, then also try adding those enhancements on your own. In the next lectures, I will show you one possible solution, so a couple of possible prompts you could use. But of course, as mentioned before, the results you're getting will likely deviate, and you should definitely try to come up with your own solution first before taking a look at my solution.